Hey, what's going on, everyone? Joe Menza here, and here's another little view of that river that I recently painted. That's the Des Plaines River. So we're going to do another little take on that area, sort of inspired by that picture. I'm taking just some raw sienna. It's probably a little dirtier looking than normal. A few strokes across the actually dry paper. You can do that too. Instead of just going straight in with water, you can mix in your raw sienna with some water and do those initial strokes instead of double the amount of water. Just a different way of approaching it. And then you can do this and come in with your ultramarine blue or whatever sky color you choose, and then you still have some dry areas. So instead of wetting the whole thing down, this gives you a little bit of an alternative, and it almost has a cloud look to it in the background. So as you can see, we've left that area dry. Same way if we were doing the bottom part of the paper and trying to leave some white. Kind of a reverse and do that in the sky type of thing. And so now it looks like there's a little bit of clouds, and that's achieved through a bit of that dry brushing. So now I'm taking some of my yellow ochre and raw sienna mix. You'll see on my palette I have like 3 or 4 yellows: lemon yellow, raw sienna, yellow ochre, and a cad yellow hue. And sometimes I'll just run the brush across all of those and get just my own unique yellow. Call it Joe Yellow, maybe. I don't know, something. But there's another artist out there that's paints bridges. Anthony, I can't remember his name. I'll think of it later. But he does that. He like mixes 2 colors together and then sort of comes up with his own unique colors by mixing 2 colors together. So it's kind of an interesting way to do things a little bit differently. Since I have 3 or 4 yellows, I've got 3 or 4 blues, and then I've got like 3 browns. Just gives me some variety, but the principle is ultimately the same. You know, one might be a little redder, one might be a little browner, a little darker. As you can see here, like I've mixed all 3. You know, I've got the raw sienna, burnt umber, and Van Dyke brown. And you'll see I come up with this combo, kind of a fall after the leaves have fallen, you know, kind of a brown here, using the corner of the brush. You see it's got a nice reddish tone to it. And that's why I do keep raw sienna on my palette these days. I like to be able to go toward that reddish part of the brown. Now, if you don't have that, you can always add a little red, your light red, or your whatever red you have. You can red up your brown a little bit. But it's nice to not have to do as much mixing, get you there a little bit quicker, which is like one of the reasons I do keep a green. I keep some Viridian on my palette and some turquoise I keep on my palette now. So if I want to get to like a green quicker, I mean, I can mix the Viridian with a little yellow or a little blue and kind of skew that into a different direction. And also some of the colors that you might find a little lean toward the bright or gaudy side, you can use that as a first initial wash and then go over the top, and you can come up with some unique things. You'll see that in a future video I'll be putting up. I've got another couple of spray bottle type approach videos coming up with a little spray bottle, little brush. I'm still refining that whole technique. You know, I'm not giving up on my experimentation, but I am going to be wary of, I've been going a little dark on some of my paintings in the past, and they're almost too dark. I'm just trying to get that light palette going. Now here you'll see that touch of Viridian mixed in with this green and the yellow that I'm doing here. I'm going to dance in a little bit of greens that will just put enough touch into this one now. And the other one, there was really no green. So we're going to have just nice little touches of green in between. And you can see how that green has it's almost a little too, it's got that sort of garish green to it a little bit. So you gotta tampen that down. Now, another thing you can do is if you have a green that's a little too much, you want to neutralize it a little bit, you can add a little red to it, believe it or not. You wouldn't think red and green mixed together. You think Christmas or something, but you mix a little bit of red in there and it neutralizes the tone. So it's an option just to kind of tamp down that green. If it's a little screaming a little too loud, hit it with a little bit of maybe alizarin or a little bit of the light red, and it'll neutralize it because they're on opposite ends of the color wheel. So dipping back into the darker Van Dyke brown, another brown I like to have on my palette. If you don't have that, ultramarine blue, and you can use brown, and then you can use a little Payne's gray, and you can have a lot of different variations. Now I'm using the edge of the hockey brush, aka Hake brush, and just quickly putting in some trunks. You can see the other one I went straight up. This one here I just kind of did a little vibrato with the brush. So either way, however you do it, just do it confidently, one stroke, or go sideways and kind of work your way up. Either way, you'll have a nice little tree trunk to work off of. So now I'm going to dip into the same colors. We'll get the number 3 Winsor & Newton rigger and do some miscellaneous trunks, skinnier trunks for the background, and just throw some of those in there. Going a little dark to contrast, offset off the background. And we'll put in some branches. So this is meant to stand out past the background foliage. And you see how we're closed up back there? We got a little bit of the white paper showing through. Just a different look for the clouds. Just enough to, catch your interest back there. Just yet one other way to skin the cat, as they say. So I'm just going to do these little rigger moves here. And I've left where there's going to be water, I've left that again, like I did in my other one. I've left that white so I can tackle that more toward the end. Another way you can do that is, you can always do a light wash initially and then work on that. But I want to leave some white paper in there. So it requires a little forethought. You got to give it a little bit of thought when you're going in, how you're going to, like leaving that little bit of white behind. I'm not a masking fluid user. Don't really like the stuff. But, there's ways you can do this through the brush strokes and leave a little bit of white behind, enough to, get a little bit of interest. So we want to stay fast and loose. That's the name of the game. Doing paintings in about 20-30 minutes so that they stay fresh and that they, have spontaneity. That's what you want. You want that freshness, I mean, you can sit there, you could spend 2 hours doing a painting, and sometimes these quick, impressionistic ones they're the ones you're happiest with, ones you didn't care going in, So I've just taken a little bit of yellow, a little bit of this brown, just anchoring some of these trees to the ground, and just trying to make every little touch of the brush here count. Don't want to cover up all that green. I still want a little bit of that green peeking through. However much you decide to do, you want a little more showing through. Just be conscious of that as you're putting these things in. This is a little post, summer, not quite into the snow yet. We've got the leaves off the trees, sort of a thing. Maybe I'll put a few on there, I don't know. But we want to leave a little bit of green. Not everything is quite browned and gone dormant yet. So we're going to do a little bit of green peeking out. And it creates a nice little color variety. So we don't look too neutral. Well, you see we got those brownish reds in the background, giving us a little warmth. Little bit of counter change off the tree trunks with the dark Van Dyke brown stand out against the background. Always be looking for those things. Always be looking for ways that you can, gain interest on the eye. Very important. And variety in the colors, well balanced. A lot of little factors in there. If you want to do sort of the creative, paint on the fly type thing. Of course, this here I am going off of the memory of a photo that I put up in the beginning. So there is a little bit of reference for this one. Not my usual making up as I go along. Now, a little bit of blue mixed in with probably what was ever on the brush. So we're just going to kind of quick strokes across. And we're going to do our level best to leave some white along the shoreline so we don't have to get out any white, and generate some bright interest there, and just shape that river using a little bit of the yellows first, just so we don't go too dark initially. yellows and the lighter brown, and just sort of dancing that in there. Just quick, quick with the brush. Now, this style here, I want to be clear, I'm going to put some little leaves in these trees, just using the ends of the brush. This style here is more in the way that Ron Ranson, taught, more of the purity of the colors. It's along his inspirational style. This is our group that we have in Facebook, the Ron Ranson Fast and Loose Large Brush Group. And that's kind of what I'm emulating here. That's kind of what I'm channeling here. Had a few people pop up on YouTube, and they were saying, oh, this reminds me of Stephen Cronin, which Stephen Cronin was one of the first that I followed. Excellent, fantastic artist all the way around. No doubt about that. But his style, if you look back at his earlier stuff, he actually mentions Ron Ranson, so that was one of his influences as well. The father of the pioneering of this hake brush, fast and loose big brush method is Ron Ranson. But there's hundreds and hundreds of videos by both Dave Usher and Stephen Cronin, both of whom use the hake brush. And you'll find a lot also out there by Alan Owen. I encourage you to check out all of those people. Alan Owen's style is different. He's sort of got the Ed Wesson style going, which is more along the lines of singular colors. There's no, with what he does, a single color is put on instead of more varying of the colors. Single colors of like grass, single colors of water, like a gray blue for the water. There isn't any extra. The colors are very, individual. Unlike here where we keep the brush, using the brush and reintroducing new colors onto the brush and then having a variance of colors. There's no variance of colors. The trees have green, the trunks are one single solid color. And it creates a unique look, almost, I would say, like a storybook illustration. They're very, very nice. Not my particular style, but a lot of people really like it. I'm taking my card here and I'm doing some tree trunk scraping. Kind of my little spin to put on there. Not a lot of people I see doing this with the tree trunks. I did see a video of a guy, I don't know where he was at, like Malaysia or something. It was some country like that. And he was a street artist and he was doing watercolors. I think it was an Asian country. And this guy was a street artist. And I saw him do the tree scraping. And I was like, hey, I thought I invented that. But of course, it's just something I did. And I liked the way it made trunks look. I gave this a little spritz because the paint is getting a little dry. I like the way when you scrape the trees, how it immediately looks like bark and it looks like the light is hitting the tree. Like two things happen there. So we're just, scraping in a few little rocks and things. The water, we're not overcomplicating it. A lot of times I'll overcomplicate the water. A little bit of blue in there and, that pretty much, just keep it simplified. You run the risk if you leave too much white of people thinking there's snow on the ground. So that's why you have to kind of be careful with that. If you leave too much white in certain areas, it sticks out in a way that's going to make it. And if you're doing a winter scene, then it's perfect. But I'm going to do a little quick dry here. Now that we pretty much got everything set into place, we'll go ahead and do a quick blow dry with the hair dryer. See all those little things, the little tree branches, the scraping, and the little rocks. leaving of the white. It looks like there's just hundreds of details in there that really didn't take a whole lot of effort. That's the magic of this technique and this style. While this is drying, I'm multitasking here a little bit with the hairdryer. Add a few more little branches in there. That's my multitask. That's the extent of it. A little more with the hairdryer. And I just want to take a moment to say I appreciate all of the support, patrons, YouTube members, those who leave comments on my videos. I really appreciate that. Every time I'm able to go and buy more paper, I can do more videos. And when people leave me comments saying that I've inspired or encouraged them, that means a lot to me, and makes me inspired to keep going on and continue on this journey and bringing you all along, and all of us just discovering and moving forward and progressing together, especially during these times. This has been a rough year for everyone. I don't need to remind you, take you out of your, happy mental place, but it has, and I think painting has really been a good source for me. Hopefully it has been for you, a source of escape and focus, and I think it's great in that area. Anxiety and all that stuff for me, painting really, and that's what pushed me to share this. I came into this as 49, I think, when Ron Ranson came in. He was like 50 years old. I was like 48 when I came into this, and I was like, gosh, I wish I had taken up painting sooner. I used to airbrush models, plastic models and things, and I enjoyed that, but I don't know, I never really saw this. It was in the 90s that I saw Bob Ross painting, and I thought it was interesting, but I had just had kids at the time, and I was amazed by it, but I was never encouraged to pick up the brush because oil paints, you got to kind of have an area for that. I just didn't have it. I had a very small house at the time. So I didn't pick up the brush then. But then when my kids got bigger, I showed them. I'm like, check this Bob Ross out. And that's when they bought me a kit for Christmas. And I said, wow, this is really a lot of fun. But I still didn't like the oil. And that's how I made my way into watercolor. And I started seeking out. I said, there's got to be some people out there that are doing like a Bob Ross of watercolor. That's how I found Steven. And when I saw what Steven was doing, I'm like, there's got to be, he's a young guy. He's got to have picked some tips up from somewhere. And that's where I got into, Ron Ranson was the, where this all came from. And, it was right there on his brush, the Ron Ranson Hake. So that's the fun of it. And after that, I says, I'm going to use this Hake brush every day. I'm only going to use this brush for the majority of my painting. And I'm going to, we used to play hockey. It's like, you got to make that hockey stick part of your self, and you just use that brush day in and day out, and it'd be like part of you, and it'll become natural, like an extension. Now, I can't I can use a fan brush, but I can't just go and, I can't use like a one of those mop type brushes. It's like foreign to me now. So I get where you guys are. If you're using a mop and then you like go to the Hake, or you're using like a pointy small brush and you go to the Hake, it's got to be that same effect, Okay, so that's it. Here is your finished painting in its matte. I hope you enjoyed that. I thank everyone again for their support, and thank you for watching. And we'll have some more videos coming soon. Thanks, everybody.